Donald Trump continues to get blindsided as more musical performers from the so-called Freedom 250 concert are quitting. Even more musical performers have quit from when I reported on this yesterday. Essentially, all of the musical performers that were announced by the Trump regime have quit. They're basically left with no one. And each of the performers who have quit are telling a remarkably similar story, that they were defrauded by the Trump regime, that their agents were told that this was a nonpartisan event, that it was not affiliated with any politician or certainly not affiliated with Donald Trump. And then these musical performers realized they were being used as pawns for Donald Trump's regime propaganda. Their fans were outraged. They were outraged. And one by one, these musical performers started to quit. And now we basically have no musical performers left. Let me break down what took place. So the Freedom 250 organization 48 hours ago announced the following. The lineup for the Great American State Fair is here, and it's bringing the hits. And then it listed the musical performers: Martina McBride, Young MC, CNC Music Factory, Vanilla Ice, Milli Vanilli, The Commodores, Morris Day and the Time, Flo Rida, Bret Michaels, and many more. And then they said these concerts would be taking place from June 25th through July 10th. They then created this poster with the musical acts that would be performing. And then one by one, we saw these musical performers announcing that they were out and that they were quitting and that they were defrauded by the Trump regime. And so we've recently learned Martina McBride is out. She's quitting. The Commodores are out. They are quitting. Young MC is out, quitting. Milli Vanilli, the announcement was quite curious from the outset, since one of the main singers is not alive, and there really weren't singers. They did a lot of lip singing, and some of the original people in the group are not affiliated with the remaining person who's alive. And so it was a whole strange thing, like who was even going to be singing there. But Milli Vanilli, the original Milli Vanilli, are out. Morris Day and the Time is out. So essentially, oh, and then by the way, CNC Music Factory probably out. I'll tell you what they said in a second. So one by one, they started to post these messages that they were quitting. The Commodores recently posted the following. The Commodores will not be performing at the Great American State Fair. Our music has always been our voice, and we choose not to publicly affiliate with any single political party. We support the betterment of all Americans, is what they posted. Martina McBride, late afternoon, yesterday evening, early evening, posted the following. I would like to talk to you and clear the air. I will not be performing at the Great American State Fair on June 25th. I was presented with an opportunity to perform at a nonpartisan event, but that turned out to be misleading. I asked a lot of questions and was assured this was a nonpartisan event that was meant to celebrate all 50 states. In my mind, I thought this was a great way to celebrate the states and also bring people together in the way that only music can. I saw it as just a bigger version of so many state fairs I have performed at over the years, celebrating community and what makes each state special. Sounds fun, right? Wholesome even. Yesterday, things started changing, and what we were told is, in fact, not what was happening. I've spent my entire career singing songs about real people with real issues. I've been blessed with the opportunity to be a voice for those who have felt like they didn't have one. It greatly upsets me that any fan who has been moved by my music may now feel like I'm abandoning the meaning behind those songs. I assure you that is not the case. I appreciate every single fan who has reached out. I hope to get back to the DC area soon. Martina McBride. Then we heard from Young MC, who posted the following. I have informed my agents that I will not be performing at the Freedom 250 event. The artists were never told about the political connection. I literally only saw the Freedom 250 affiliation this morning. So that's it. I will not be performing. I hope to perform in DC at an event that is truly non-political. Thank you. Morris Day and the Time posted, contrary to rumor, Morris Day and the Time will not be performing at the, quote, Great American State Fair. Then there was a message posted from the real Milli Vanilli regarding the Freedom 250 performances. So here was the statement from the real Milli Vanilli. The real surviving half of Milli Vanilli does a truth smackdown. And here's what they say. The original real vocalist of Milli Vanilli, Jody Rocco, Linda Rocco, Brad Howell, John Davis, and Charles Shaw will not be performing their hits live at the Great American State Fair. Others using the name Milli Vanilli that appear on the advertisement should be considered a tribute band with no association vocally or musically to our sounds or songs. And it gives an about the Milli Vanilli. And then it turns out that someone named Fab Morvan, one of the two faces of the pop group who was not actually responsible for singing any of their hits, says that he's been the one speaking with Trump and that he will be performing. And so you see what a mess it is just with these bands. One by one, these performers being told that they were not given accurate information and that they were essentially lied to and induced to perform. Now, the Trump regime spokesperson is out there saying, no, this is nonpartisan. We just want to bring people together. But we know how the Trump regime has been using this. Now, I want to share with you as well. The CNC Music Factory, we believe CNC Music Factory probably is not going to attend. Freedom Williams, who's the main performer for CNC Music Factory, says that he didn't know the event had anything to do with Donald Trump. He had no clue what was happening. He hates politics. He said the only reason that he may still perform is because he doesn't like being told that he shouldn't perform. But he goes, I hate Donald Trump. I don't like politicians in general. Here's the message that he put out. So we see consistently right now all of essentially every performer other than what it's going to be Vanilla Ice. And as our editor-in-chief, Ron Filipkowski said, what is it going to be? Vanilla Ice and Lara Trump and maybe Kid Rock again? They just bring Kid Rock, back. But here's what Freedom Williams of CNC Music Factory said yesterday. Here's the video he posted. Let's play this clip.
Hey, yo, man. I just got some texts all day. I kind of been out the loop. And people talking about, yo, free. Yo, you doing the Trump Freedom Show. Yo, you doing the show on the 250th anniversary of the U.S. with Donald Trump. I'm like, what? What are you talking about? They're like, yeah, man, social media, boom, boom, boom. People commenting on it. Fucking with Trump. Celebrity niggas is calling me up. Niggas I've known for years who know I don't fuck with Trump. Nigga, I'm Dog Cypher Devon. I know where I stand. I know who the fuck I am. So I'm like, what are you talking about? My agent called me about 3 months ago and said, yo, you want to do a show the 25th in Washington? Yeah, I just did a show in Washington for the Mystics. I did a show 6 months ago in Washington. I do shows in Washington all the time. It's no big deal. He says, yeah, he didn't say nothing about Trump. He didn't mention Trump. So I'm getting all these calls. So I go online. I'm like, okay, so what's going on? So I told my agent, yeah, no, I ain't gonna be able to do that. You know what I mean? But then as I thought about it, I'm getting all these texts talking about we're going to cancel CNC Music Factory and we can't believe this is going to be a terrible show. Vanilla Ice, Young MC, and fucking, Milli Vanilli and Brett Michaels, and it's a terrible show anyway. Let me tell y'all niggas something. I don't fuck with Trump. I don't give a fuck about Trump. I don't give a fuck about Trump family. I don't know the nigga. I'm from New York. I know the nigga. I know the type of fucking anarchy he creates. But the day I let you motherfuckers tell me what to do is the day I die. I want to make that shit motherfucking crystal clear. I do not live for none of you niggas. I will vote, listen, I will vote for fucking Genghis Khan, Hitler.
Now, at the same time, this Trump performance is an absolute disaster. Tom Morello, Rage Against the Machine fame, posted the following. Power to the people, a day of peace, love, justice, and music. And they announced this concert right here that's going to be taking place on October 3rd, 2026, featuring the Foo Fighters, Dave Matthews, Tom Morello, Jack Black, Dropkick Murphy, Cypress Hill, Killer Mike, Serge Tankian. I mean, real superstars over here. And special guest Bruce Springsteen and others in Columbia, Maryland, right there. And of course, the MeidasTouch is going to have some role there as well. I think as we reflect on all of these musical acts quitting as a result of the Trump regime making this into regime propaganda, I also reflect on the fact of all of the acts that quit at the Kennedy Center, whether it was the Hamilton performance or Philip Glass or the Washington National Opera or the Vocal Arts DC or the Brentano Quartet, the Seattle Children's Theater, Renee Fleming. Ben Folds resigned as the artistic advisor of the National Symphony. I mean, there were 20 acts that quit. One, they couldn't sell, it wasn't them, the Kennedy Center, which Donald Trump unlawfully called the Trump Kennedy Center, couldn't sell tickets anymore because no one wanted to go to the vandalized Kennedy Center. It felt like almost an illegal act going there. And then people just didn't feel safe. And they know that Donald Trump would be using them as pawns in this propaganda routine.
Let me interrupt for just a minute with some important news because hurricane season officially begins June 1st, and experts are warning that the United States may not be prepared. NOAA, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, just released its 2026 hurricane season outlook, forecasting between 3 and 6 hurricanes this season, including up to 3 major hurricanes. And because of El Nino conditions, forecasters are also predicting an above-average hurricane season in the Pacific. Here's what makes this all worse, though. Donald Trump's cuts to weather forecasting and disaster response agencies have left the country dangerously vulnerable heading into hurricane season. Trump fired or planned to cut roughly 2,300 workers at NOAA, including hurricane hunters and severe storm researchers. The National Weather Service is now so understaffed that nearly half of forecast offices are critically short on personnel, and about a quarter of offices don't even have a meteorologist in charge. And because of staffing shortages, the government has already reduced or eliminated some weather balloon launches that meteorologists rely on for accurate forecasting during major storms. At the same time, Trump and congressional Republicans cut funding for weather forecasting research, while FEMA has been gutted with plans to slash more than 11,000 jobs from the agency. And here's what's especially alarming. Reports show that under Trump, disaster aid approvals have become heavily politicized. I'm sure you've all seen this. Democratic-led states have reportedly received federal disaster approvals at dramatically lower rates than Republican-led states. This isn't some sort of abstract political debate anymore. We're talking about hurricane forecasts, evacuation warnings, emergency response times, and whether families can rebuild after disaster strikes. Former NOAA official Monica Medina warned that these cuts are, quote, putting families, businesses, and communities in danger right as hurricane season begins. So now I want to hear from you. Do you trust the Trump administration to handle major natural disasters? Have you noticed changes in weather alerts or emergency preparedness where you live? And what do you make of all these cuts to NOAA, the National Weather Service, and FEMA? I also want to just hear your thoughts on our climate segments here in general. Let us know down in the comments right now. I'll be reading all of them. Okay, Ben, back to you.
So here's what I want to share with you as well, because you saw Dropkick Murphys will be at the alternative show, not at anything relating to Trump. And I want to share with you my interview with Dropkick Murphys. They'll be at Tom Morella's event, the Power to the People event, because here's how he described to me. This was a year ago when I spoke with Dropkick Murphys. And here's how they described to me, or he described to me, what the band's philosophy was. And this so resonated with me. Here, play this clip.
Well, people will say to us, like, yeah, we know this is your politics, but why you, like, they want to, the right that follows us wants to be able to just kind of know our politics, but not have to be faced with it, And they said, why? Well, why all of a sudden so much? I said, well, we always have. If it's more now, it's because we're in a crisis, and if we don't speak up now, we're going to lose the opportunity to speak up. And all the things you mentioned, especially like organized labor, and I get it. I get the anger and people feeling like the Democrats have let them down as well. But if you want to look at the voting records, and you want to look at, like you said, the two guys in charge, whoever you want to call the president, I'm not sure which one really is, they literally laugh at working class people. How you can vote with that, I don't know. And I do see a change, because I think that, especially like in the online world, that, the bullies will always bully, but like MAGA had dominated that. They almost had scared people into submission, and people would, even a lot of other bands, they just kept their head down because they didn't want it to affect their business. They didn't want it to, put the bullseye on them. But listen, they're coming for everybody eventually, right? So you better speak up now and don't be afraid. And if you want to be silenced because you think it's going to be better for your business, it's like in the long run, there's only a few ultra wealthy people that this is going to benefit. Everyone else is going to suffer, and someday you'll also carry the shame if you're a band or whoever that you didn't speak up when the time was called for. So that's why we do it now. And it's what we've always been about, and I think that working class people on the left in particular need to stand up, because there's this whole like mentality that MAGA has painted that like you're either MAGA or you're, drinking soy lattes, or whatever, and there's a lot of people that are just like, we're just regular people, but we don't want a dictator. We don't want to see people's benefits ripped away, especially veterans and people who have worked their whole life to pay into Social Security. I just don't understand. If someone was going to trick Americans into what has happened, I would have like thought it might have been like a Brad Pitt or someone a little bit cooler or whatever. Like the fact that Elon Musk, the guy looks like literally seems like a villain from a movie mixed with the guy that's like mid nervous breakdown. And Donald Trump's just a clown. I just can't believe how they've been the two that are swaying people's views. It's crazy, and I'm 100% convinced that Donald Trump is a Russian asset, and because his behavior and the things he's done. And one other thing Dropkick Murphys has always been about is like a lot of songs about standing with your friends and family and the things you believe in, whether it's politics or just how you were raised. And Donald Trump is the exact opposite of everything we sing about. He's turned on his friends. He's turned on he's turned on America's friends and our allies. And he's a rat and a coward, when you think of it that way. America shouldn't be turning on our allies, So that's how we feel.
And here's what Ben Folds told me when I spoke to him also a little bit ago. Here's what Ben Folds said, who was one of the curators for the National Symphony Orchestra. And he resigned his position very early on, February 2025. Just to have friends like Ben Folds and Dropkick, and to see how they've been on the front lines with us, the Midas Mighty, we've been on the front lines with them. It makes me really proud. Here's what Ben Folds says.
It's really sad. The Kennedy Center had so many great missions, and it is a memorial as well. It's as close to sacred stuff as you can get for our federal government. But aside from that, it really is playing out roughly the way that it felt it would for me a year ago. And I'm not saying that I understood how events would unfold exactly, but it was clearly the first step it was an authoritarian move. It was an authoritarian first step. And like, obviously they weren't going to start by trying to steamroller late night comedians. They thought they would run over us first. And that's much easier because it's close to home and they know what they're, and they know how to do it. But now the things that are happening are no surprise, because that's, it wasn't just him. I think people misunderstand. It's not just him going in wanting to book bands or something. It's commandeering, the government's, the arts. And then from there, that's expression. That's freedom of expression. And from there, you move on to the networks and to Stephen Colbert and Jimmy Kimmel and 60 Minutes. And you just keep steamrolling. So I was sick on my stomach when I quit, because one, I knew they were going to run in the ground. No one that they were appointing had any experience in arts administration, but that was never the point. The point was to take that, run over it, and move on. So it's rotting over, next to the Potomac in the moment, and it's like, it's just sad,
Right now, contrast that to the Trump bans, and I think lots of the musical acts that have quit, that have say we don't want to be a part of your Freedom 250 propaganda fest, know exactly how they're going to be used. Like one of Donald Trump's favorite musicians is Ted Nugent. This is how Trump views musical acts. This is what Ted Nugent said in Waco, Texas, when he was campaigning with Donald Trump. Play this clip.
I want my money back. I didn't authorize any money to Ukraine to some homosexual weirdo. I want my money back.
And then the whole Trump regime media apparatus tries to normalize this. So this guy's Ed Henry on one of these right-wing propaganda networks trying to act like what you just saw of Ted Nugent is normal. Here, I'll play this clip.
Exactly. His remarks, amazing, about Zelensky and I want my money back. He is channeling what a lot of Americans feel, not just at the rallies, but I suspect some of the real Americans we'll talk to in a minute, and people at home who are streaming this live, who are undoubtedly cheering along with Ted Nugent. And when
Or then you have Donald Trump's other like music act puppets like Kid Rock, who flies around in Apache helicopters in our military, and they do flyovers to his house, wasting our taxpayer dollars. And here's what Kid Rock had to say recently on Fox. Play this clip.
But speaking of music,
yeah, that's pretty easy. You know what's stupid? You know what's stupid is people who think they're cooler than Art Thou, that worry about their outfit every day, like some of these rock singers that live here in Nashville, I won't say any names, or these chicks running around in their campuses with blue hair and their 5 nose rings.
Speaking of music, though,
And then let's not forget that a while ago, Kid Rock also said that Donald Trump was asking him questions about Kim Jong-un. And of course, we know that Kim Jong-un now has nuclear weapons as a result of Donald Trump's like love affair or love fest with Kim Jong-un. Here, play this clip.
Like, yeah, tweet that out. I was like, I can't add anything better than that. But then it comes out and it's reworded and more political and like, a little politically correct. And I'm like, just being pretty, we're looking at maps. And I'm like, am I supposed to be like in on I make dirty records sometimes. I'm like, I do it here.
You didn't think you'd have a hand
What
in
do you think we should do about North Korea? I'm like, what? I don't think I'm qualified to answer this.
And so now you have this Freedom 250 event, an utter disaster. And just look at what Donald Trump has done to the White House, the before and after. I mean, it just looks like an utter mess. Take a look at the construction. It just looks like a grotesque thing at this point. Look how he's destroyed the reflecting pool right here. I mean, how ugly that looks, how ugly the White House looks. I mean, this is someone who is a fascist who has destroyed our country and destroyed the White House, destroyed the way DC looks, and nobody should be a part of this at all unless you support his fascism and his propaganda and his racism and his hate and his destruction of freedom. And I think you see a lot of these musical performers making the right decision. Hit subscribe. Let's get to 7 million subscribers. Thanks for watching, everybody.
New Midas merch. Head to store.MeidasTouch.com today and get yourself the best pro-democracy gear and show your support. That's store.MeidasTouch.com.